Welcome to Life by Design, episode 370. Welcome to Life by Design. I'm your host, Dr. Jamie Richardson. I'm joined today by my colleague, Dr. Horatio Jug.
Feels like I'm happy to be here, and it feels like it's been a while, actually, since we've done one of these.
Yeah, I think it might have been a while for Life by Design. I know we were on one of our other podcasts more recently, but in terms of Life by Design, it probably has been a little bit. I know we just had the holidays, Horatio, and it's been lots of things going on. So good to have you back on the show. Oh,
yeah. I'm happy to be here, like I said.
Awesome. Well, we are creators of Life by Design with many locations worldwide. Each week on the show, we discuss the principles and the practice of Life by Design. Today, we're talking about goal setting, but, our general flip of the script on goal setting, 3 reasons resolutions break. Let's talk about this. Are you a guy who makes New Year's resolutions? Do you goal set? Is it a thing that's a part of your regular routine? And what do you think about that? Something that people should be doing, not doing?
Oh, of course you need to be goal setting. I don't set New Year's resolutions because the dates are irrelevant to me, but I like them. I'm a fan of anything that motivates somebody to do something better in their life. I mean, how can you dislike that?
Yeah, I don't know, but some people do. Some people think, I'm not going to goal set. I'm not going to set a resolution. I think part of it comes from I think a lot of it comes from, the fact that they have had so many failures. They just think, what's the point? It's not worth it. They don't really consider that maybe they need a better strategy or maybe they need a different approach. They just assume that it's something to do inherently with goal setting or something to do with, a New Year's resolution that doesn't work. But obviously that's not the case.
You think that's interesting. I never thought of that. It's funny for me. It's always like, if somebody achieved it with similar situation to what I had, then it's possible for me to do it.
Yes. And I think that's a personality trait that is, part of the successes that you've had in your life. And probably, and maybe, I don't know, has this always been the way you thought? Or would you say that that's been a personality trait that's been developed for you? And do you remember times when you didn't set goals or didn't feel like they were important or that they were even a waste of time?
I remember I never thought that they were a waste of time. I just thought, like everybody else, that I just lacked the discipline. I think thinking back, Jamie, because we've known each other for a lot of years, I think Cairo Finishing School was the first time that like actual like goal setting, like I'm going to write out my goals and these are the things that I'm going to do. I think that was the first time that idea was presented like that,
Right. Yeah. Again, this is, it's new for a lot of people to look at this from, a perspective that we're going to talk about today. So why don't we get into, the fact that it's probably not the motivation. I think that's where people go to, right? Is that they're not motivated. Sure. And, what do you think what goal setting strategy works as something that can be repeatable and successful?
I mean, again, I think the people that I'm around, because I'm always listening and I'm more interested when we chat, I'm more interested in your way of thinking about things, right? Like when I'm more interested in the processes that you do, because I'm always looking to apply better processes and higher level thinking to my life. I think that's where the real answer is. And when it comes to goals, I think the problem with most people is that they're not thought out really, really well. They're thought out poorly. It's well, I'm going to lose weight. And how do I lose weight? I need to join the gym, for example. And that's really the extent of it, right? So now I'm joining the gym, and that's how they came to the conclusion, that the goal now is weight loss, or the goal now has become, I need to go to the gym, right? So I'm going to join the gym in the new year, right? Whereas that's really not the goal. That is one way of achieving the goal. This is why clarity is important, right? The more clear you become on what it is exactly that you want, you're going to learn that there's many paths that you can take to get there. And inevitably in this example, what happens is they hate going to the gym. They choose a gym, based on the wrong reasons, typically price. Which, not for everyone is a bad reason. Sometimes price is a legitimate barrier, but they, and they hate going. And then, like most humans, we don't like doing things that we hate. We avoid it. And then, you're 2 weeks in and you quit and you feel bad and you're not any closer to meeting your goal.
Right. Yeah, that sounds like a cycle that I've seen repeated numerous times.
Oh, I've participated in that cycle numerous times too.
So then, you're talking about looking at success, and success leaves clues, and, not just necessarily the mechanics of goal setting, but, the personality traits and the deeper components of the processes for people who are succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this a bit in the pre-show, but talk about, what you think the most significant one or two personality traits are that guide someone who's very good at succeeding in the goals that they set. And, I think we made the note here in the show notes that it's not willpower, which is what most people think, right? They assume I just don't have the willpower to do that. I don't have the discipline to do that. And so they give up. What's the character trait that you've seen, and we can talk about this a little bit and dig into it, that successful people have in terms of how they approach goal setting, whether it be the start of the year or any time for that matter?
I think the first one would be, I think successful people always seek clarity first, right? Like, and I think, Jamie, I think for us, this has just become, because we chat all the time, right? So it's always, there's always this chatting about, you just finished telling me that you rebranded the gym, and rebranding is a way of seeking clarity. You're like, okay, well, something's not right. I'm not getting the result that I want. So I'm going to gain further clarity and think about who it is that I'm trying to serve. Right. Right. So that's an excellent example of how to seek clarity. And I think we just do this all the time, like we're always, you have this desire of something that you want and you're moving towards it. And there's certain things that you experience on the path towards it. And the ones that you don't like, that don't make you feel really good, you're always reevaluating them to make sure that you're part of on the right path. And I think that's just part of our character, so much so that we don't even consider it seeking clarity anymore. It's just part of the analysis process that we're always doing. I think number two is the love of losing and learning, right? Like, you understand that when you set a new goal, especially if it's a big one, I'm going to start a coffee shop, or I'm going to, these are the things that I want to create. You understand inherently that there's going to be failure after failure after failure, if you want to look at it that way, along the path. You've just created a certain level of tolerance and almost, joy in like, okay, well, that didn't work. What else are we going to try? And there's not a feeling of failure when it happens. There's almost a feeling of, okay, well, I learned this lesson. What other lessons can I learn? And how can I repeat this process as fast as possible so I can get to, the result that I'm trying to achieve. Right. And then there's just there's the opposite thing of when you know what you want to achieve, that there's multiple ways to do it, and you're always looking to leverage what your personal strengths and joys are, right? Like there's this, it's got to be cultural, but there's this, take a movie like Rocky Balboa, for example. So Rocky wants to be the champ, and they show him doing Rocky, and they show him doing like, training and it was hard, right? Oh, I love the scenes, but like the message is that, he's making a sacrifice and he doesn't like it, but yet he's so committed and he's so driven. And that's why people think that commitment, drive, and motivation is the motivating factor. Really the story of Rocky is the guy who wants to fight, doesn't mind getting the crap kicked out of him, but he just keeps showing up and working a little bit harder, right?
Well, and to go to, one of the other concepts here in the show notes is this idea of motivation. I think the reason he's motivated is because he understands that the training regiment that he carries out is the blueprint that is connected to the value in this instance. So, when we look at, getting clear, a big part of getting clear is making sure that the things that you are setting goals towards and want to accomplish are connected to your deeper values. And that's where the motivation and the willpower and the discipline comes from. It's not necessarily a cause. I feel like motivation is more of an effect, right? Like for me, the idea that I should get up at 4:00 in the morning, it doesn't really take dedication or discipline to do it, because I have this goal that I want to achieve that's deeply connected to one of my values. And so the only solution for me is to get up at 4:00 in the morning in order to accomplish everything that I need to. So it's not as if I have to force myself to do it. Doesn't mean I'm in love with doing it. Doesn't mean that the physical experience of it is always great. But, the fact is, motivation, I think, is an effect. And most people don't see it as that. They see it as something that's causal, and that because of that, they're always digging deeper. Like, I've got to get more motivated. I've got to find the discipline. And then they just get into the cycle of beating themselves up when they don't find it or don't have it.
Sure. So I agree. The way that I got on this is I was having a conversation with a really successful woman that we take care of. So her and her husband, they own 2 businesses here in London. They own, real estate properties. Like, they have real estate properties in America. They've raised 3 children, like, super successful. She works super hard, and she's like, I'm just struggling with I'm just not a motivated person. I'm like, you're not it's funny how, like, there's just a disconnect. I'm like, look at all that you accomplished. Clearly motivation. Like, you're not sitting on the couch and just, like, streaming Netflix for 7 years. Like, you went after it. You've done stuff, right? So it's not that. It's what, like, the deeper cause is what you said. You're trying to find, what's pulling you within.
Right. Well, I mean, to go back to the personality traits, and I think you were describing this trait, and you might have actually said it, but I think the trait here is resilience, right? Yeah. I mean, that's really that type of character trait is, in large part, what is going to help you continue to move forward towards the goal that you set. And so, for those listening in, they think about whether it's a dietary goal or a fitness goal or a health goal, as long as it's connected to your deeper values, as long as health is truly a value for you, then it's just a matter of finding a blueprint and a plan that, I think is enjoyable enough for you. There's going to be some things about it that I don't think you're going to love necessarily, but that's why it's connected to a value. So you are feeling the effects or feeling the motivation and the drive to work towards it. But again, I think you're just going to have to be a resilient person because, the accomplishment of a goal is just not a linear process. And so, that's a reason I think that resolutions do break, is that people, they do some work or they carry out a process for a period of time, but they don't see the results. I had this conversation with a client today on the coaching side of things and the business consulting. And, they were talking about, I feel like I'm doing a lot of work, but I'm not seeing results. And I think that gets really frustrating for people. In the business aspect, of course it does. But from a personal aspect, let's say you're going to the gym and you're showing up 4 days a week and you're actually doing the right stuff, but, you don't think you're losing weight or you're not losing inches. There could be 10 other things you're not measuring that are getting better. So if you're not perceiving it or seeing it, your thought process is that it's not working. So why am I even doing this? And that's where, again, you've got to have a clarity on the value. You have to have a blueprint. You have to have something that's measurable, which is, I think, an aspect of goal setting that's important. And that altogether with resilience is going to help you get through those tough times and, continue to create a positive feedback loop so you keep moving forward and forward and forward. I think that's what we see in successful people is the goal setting isn't a New Year's resolution thing. It's an ongoing thing. I know for us, we do 90-day cycles and we've been doing them for, 15 years. And so the goal setting has just been continuous. And there's been many of them that have not been accomplished and many of them that have completely crashed and burned. And if I would have gave up then, or you would have given up then, who knows where we would be compared to where we are and then going forward where we'd like to be in the next year or 10 years for that matter.
Yeah. Well, where you would have been. You wouldn't
be where you are.
This is true. That's for sure. And if you look at the trajectory back then, you can, you have your ideas of where you would have been.
Yeah, of course. Guys, I think one of the things you can do if you haven't done this yet is to go check out the 30-day Think by Design Challenge. Maybe challenge isn't the best word for it. It's 30 days of Curatio talking about these Think by Design principles and giving you some actual homework assignments and action steps. And that's a free resource we put together for you. You can join that right in the show notes at lifebydesign.com/podcast. You can also download the free Think by Design ebook if you haven't heard that. I know I just taught the Think by Design workshop again this week, Curatio, and it's always a good reminder of, why it's one of, if not my favorite, one of my absolute favorite workshops to teach, and such powerful information that can have such an impact on people. So go download the ebook, and I know you're going to get tons of value from that. lifebydesign.com/podcast. Find today's episode. And as always, thank you for joining the drive to 1 million families worldwide living life by design.